This is the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, keeping you informed about the happenings in Annapolis and the area. Local news, local sports, local events, local opinion, and of course, local weather. The Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief starts now.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. This is John Frenaye, and this is your Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief. Yesterday afternoon at about 2:30 p.m., the Anne Arundel County Police and Fire Departments were called to the Brockbridge Shopping Center on Laurel-Fort Meade Road in Maryland City, Laurel, out in West County. They were called for an injured person inside a vehicle, and when they arrived, they found Jordan Gregory Brown, 24, of Laurel, the Prince George's County side of Laurel, suffering from a gunshot wound to the upper body, dead in the car. The car was a 2016 dark gray four-door Nissan Altima. Homicide detectives did respond to the scene. They do believe it is a targeted incident and not a random act of violence, but they are actively investigating it. The Anne Arundel County Police are asking anybody with any information to come forward by calling the Anne Arundel County Homicide Unit at 410-222-4731. If you want to remain anonymous, you can call their tip line at 410-222-4700, or you could even call Metro Crime Stoppers at 1-866-LOCK-UP. In with the new and out with the new. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan announced that his new Chief of Staff, Roy McGrath, will be resigning. McGrath came under fire when it was revealed by the Baltimore Sun that he accepted more than $233,000 as a severance package for resigning from the Maryland Environmental Service. That wouldn't have been such a big deal, except that the Maryland Environmental Service is a quasi-public entity that is funded by tax dollars. Governor Hogan did say that he is accepting McGrath's resignation with regret, and upon the resignation, McGrath said that he was leaving to avoid, quote, unnecessary distractions. Hogan, in the meantime, now has appointed his chief legislative officer, Kiefer Mitchell, as the acting chief of staff while they look for another one. Hey, back in July, we told you about an initiative from County Executive Pittman where he wanted to give out $4,500 gift cards to people in the county that were unable to qualify for unemployment. To qualify, you had to have lost your job in 2020, had to make less than $25 an hour, and unable to receive unemployment benefits. This was administered by the Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation, and after a month, only 66 cards have been distributed for a total of $33,000. This was a $2 million initiative, so there is not a lot of uptake on this, and I'm not quite sure why. I don't know whether the county executive will pull back on the program or whether we will see more people take advantage of it. You gotta love a good story, and this one involves Alex Pitts Giannetti. He's a 7-year-old Annapolitan, and when his dad asked him what he wanted to do for the summer, expecting to hear, hey, let's go to the beach, let's go to the lake, let's go on a trip, 7-year-old Alex said, can we do something for the homeless? And he did just that. He wrote a handwritten letter to all of his neighbors asking for help in donating food, and in the end, he came up with, get this, 900 pounds of food to bring to the Lighthouse Pantry. He approached 60 homes, and more than 50 of them agreed to help him out. And it's just so awesome when you see little kids have that giving gene built into them. I want you to go to eyeonannapolis.net, look for that story, because I've got a copy of his letter that he sent out to the neighbors asking for help collecting food for the homeless. It gives me hope for the world, and congratulations. Great job, Alex. You're going to go far. An update, we finally broke the top 100. Yes, this is on the podcast ratings. We are now number 99 in the Daily News podcast ratings, and it does fluctuate from week to week, so I don't know whether we're going to stay below 100 or not, but that's pretty good, and I want to thank every one of you that is listening for that. Speaking of which, make sure you let everybody else know about us and how to subscribe and do all that stuff as well. And finally, as we wrap up today, we're going to start a new thing. We're going to start sports here, and we're working with Sing Second Sports. We're still working out some of the kinks on this, but this is a great new addition to Eye on Annapolis, and we've got some more changes coming up in the future, so you want to stay tuned for that. But if you are a sports fan, you want to listen to this little segment, but also you want to subscribe to Sing Second Sports. These guys, particularly for Navy, have the inside track on pretty much anything Navy sports. You've got 2 Navy Academy grads. You got a guy that works the chain gang on the football team. And they bring in Bill Wagner from the Capitol an awful lot for his knowledge as well. So you want to stay tuned and listen to that. Other than that, Hang tight. We've got George Young coming up in a little bit, but first, here's a quick message from Rick Peters from Solar Energy Services.
Hello, energy consumers. This is Rick Peters, president of Solar Energy Services. Have you been looking for ways to save money recently? Maybe you should consider solar energy for your home. Or are you waiting for the technology to get cheaper? If so, how long are you going to wait? Today's solar costs less than 20% of what it cost 10 years ago. But while solar prices have declined every year, so have the financial incentives. Bottom line, if you wait for cheaper solar, you're also waiting for lower incentives. Take my home, for example. My solar system was installed in 2010, and it's been paid off for almost 5 years, and I no longer have to buy any electricity for another 15 to 20 years. If I waited for cheaper solar, I'd still be paying an electric bill. At Solar Energy Services, we have thousands of satisfied customers who are sure glad they didn't wait. So what are you waiting for? Sunshine's a wasted. Call us today for a free solar design at 410-923-6090 or on the web at solarsaves.net.
Sunshine, sunshine, nothing else can make me feel so fine.
Going out? You need the most up-to-date local weather. Here's George Young from DMV Weather in Annapolis with today's forecast.
Hey everyone, this is George with DMV Weather, and this is your Eye on Annapolis forecast for Tuesday, August 18th. Yesterday brought a fairly nice day to the Annapolis region, with sunshine and 80s before more showers and storms move through the area in the late afternoon and evening hours. But today should only bring sunshine to all of Anne Arundel County, with temps in the mid to upper 80s, followed by more 80s the rest of the week, with a slight chance of showers and storms each day, Wednesday through Sunday, with temps warming steadily from the low 80s tomorrow to the upper 80s or maybe even lower 90s by Sunday. So make plans to get out and about, but keep the umbrellas close by just in case. Okay, that's it for today. This is George Young of DMV Weather. Make it a great day out there. Stay healthy and be safe, and be sure to get our free app on all of your devices by searching DCMDVA Weather in the Apple or Google App Stores, and also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and use our website each day at dmvweather.com so you can always stay weather informed.
Hi, this is Kevin Canale,
Michael Sanderson,
the host of the Maryland Association of Counties official podcast, the Conduit Street Podcast.
We like to talk Maryland policy and Maryland politics. That's what we're all about.
Why counties? Well, look at the stuff we do. Education, public safety, environment, taxes, all the areas that people care about. Counties care about that too.
So our podcast is for counties, but it's also for anyone out there who's interested in talking about public policy.
Absolutely. We did a whole episode on Uber and Airbnb and new disruptive technologies.
Right. We've been covering school funding debate probably in more depth than anybody else out there. We've talked about President Trump's tax reform, redistricting lawsuits, cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay, all that kind of stuff. It's part of our beat. Why do we call it Conduit Street? Well, that's where we are. That's who we are. You Annapolitans on this podcast, you know it as that street right over there by Chicken Ruth's. Now, that's an Annapolis institution. We want to be too. That's our headquarters, and it's sort of our brand.
You can listen to the Conduit Street podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Catch us on Fridays and get a roundup of policy and politics from right here in Annapolis and around Maryland.
Here's your local sports now on the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief.
Hey everyone at Eye on Annapolis, this is John Schofield from Sing Second Sports. This week we talk to Naval Academy golf coach Pat Owen about the recent course renovations and how those renovations came about and what the new golf course looks like, what it'll be for the members, and how it'll be one of the premier golf courses for the Patriot League and local golfers in the area.
The concept of remodeling or renovating the golf course first came about in about 2005. And Andrew Green, who's the golf course architect, was engaged in those conversations, but the funding was not there. And then there were two great friends of Navy Golf, which is the name of the organization, Admiral Hank Moss from the class of 59, distinguished graduate, and Admiral Bill Cobb from the class of 68, who were golf running mates. And Admiral Moss lives out in Monterey, California, and Admiral Cobb lives in Northern Virginia, but they played golf together for 50 years. They both were varsity golfers at the academy, and they decided that they would really like to see a great golf course for the next 50 years for the Brigade of Midshipmen, the varsity golf teams, and the membership. After Andrew was engaged in the initial conversation with our athletic director, Chet Gladchuk, Admiral Moss and Admiral Cobb came along and they said, you know something, we're going to spearhead the drive for the funding. They got the ball rolling, and then, as you know, once you get Chet involved in a project and fundraising, nobody's better. So between the three of them, they teamed up to raise approximately $6 million for the renovation.
We also talked to Naval Academy Golf Course Superintendent Eric David about some of the details behind the renovation.
So it's a substantial subsurface renovation. So most of the holes that you see are still intact the way they always were. That was the idea of the architect, was to keep the same design, the same greens, the same roll, pitch, the same feel of the golf course, because it was more of a restoration than a renovation other than the three holes. Other than those three holes, Andrew's idea was to keep the course exactly the way it was, that you would still get the same putt on 7 that you got on 7, that you would still get the same putt on 5, and recapture some of the old lost green space. There were some areas where the greens had actually shrunk. The bunkers were too far away from the greens. So you really wanted to make sure that you kept the William Flynn feel on the golf course and add the new elements of the new technology that we have. That was kind of the overall goal.
And then finally, we talked to Mallory Dietrich, who is the owner and operator of a veteran-owned and Naval Academy graduate-owned bakery called Stars and Sweets.
It's great. I mean, being back here is being back home, and almost every weekend I've been doing something, so it's been great. I have my first wedding cake coming up, so that's awesome. And another baby shower cake coming up, so a lot of people want cakes.
For more information on Stars and Sweets, find her on Instagram at Stars and Sweets, all one word. Send her a direct message, and I promise you will not be disappointed with the product. For more of the Sing Second Sports conversation, find us on Twitter at WeSingSecond or Instagram at WeSingSecond. And then find us on SoundCloud. Please subscribe, like, and listen to the podcast. We've had 16 podcasts so far, many more to come. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief. Tell your friends and colleagues this is the podcast where you can keep up on the latest with what's going on in Annapolis. And also tell them about our website, eyeonannapolis.net, where you can find even more information. This podcast comes to you every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m., keeping you informed with the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief. And take a moment to listen to our other podcast, The Maryland Crabs, released every Thursday at noon.